WildEarth this morning, and I'm still on drive from last night. And sorry for those technical difficulties last night, but we managed to sort those out. Some of you might recognise it as Zoe's rote, so we've just got to go and check something quickly on the other mast. But I'll chat with you and hopefully stay with you as long as I can. My name's Tara, and joining me on camera this morning is Brian, and of course the thumb, but you have to be quick, see if you can catch him somewhere during the drive. And then back in front of control we do have Andrew as well. So we're going to carry on. I haven't seen anything as yet as we've been driving along here. Obviously checking out for any tracks, anything like that. It is slightly overcast again this morning, but we don't have that low cloud as yet. As yet. But we shall see. We shall see. But hopefully this cloud's going to stay with us, because so the cats do like the cloud. And if you do have any questions this morning and you'd like to send them in, this is a live safari from here in South Africa. Amazing, amazing sighting of that elephant yesterday. And we did actually see him last night, and I came around the corner, startled him, and he was like, "Oh, what's going on? What's going on?" Now remember, he's a bully must, and I stopped. I'm sorry, mister, I didn't realise you were there. And we backed off a little bit, and he kind of had that look about him that maybe he could do something. But I started backing away slowly, and he was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And obviously we just talked to him as well. I said, "Okay, Mr. Ellie, we're sorry." And he started going and using his truck to go and find the marula fruits again. And it just really made sense to me that he really was quite a calm bull for being in must. And he was a gentleman. He really was a gentleman. Oh, hello. Very, very cool. I'm just going to reverse back. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry for that little break. I'm really keen to try and catch up with that hyena we just saw, and it just goes to show. As I was saying, you come around a corner and anything could be walking down the road. So I'm going to see if we can maybe pick her up again, heading down Rebecca's. I think that's possibly the best bet. And last station, go again. Found the hyena, probably a female, heading down towards Rebecca's. If anybody's interested, there is a fish eagle down at Juma on the camera at the moment at Gowrie Dam. We've been hearing them, but every time I go down there it seems to disappear. Lovely to see it properly again. But we have our eagle eye on the dam, so if you want to have a look at that, you can do. And we're going to see if we can catch up with this hyena. Maybe, I didn't see it properly, but you never know, maybe it's the mum of Ntumbela. And if we can find her, maybe she'll take us to where she's got Ntumbela hidden. Where do you have those in consoles? Ephraim, come in. She might just go straight through the bush. Walking checking along the road here, but also in the bush. Morning, Ephraim. Where do you have those encounters? Copy that. Was there a lock on Philemon's Cup line? Nothing so far. No, they stayed in the bush here, so I'm not picking anything up on the road at all. I'll drive through to Philemon's Dip anyway, just see if it pops out, or even onto Quarantine again, to the western side. So when we did get to the hyena den yesterday, we didn't find anybody there, but we didn't stay very long. So it was just as we approached. We had the problem. Hear the call of the magpie shrike. I can hear you. There he is. Now, where's the rest of your family? Is that who you're trying to call? Can you see him just at the bottom branch there?
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's up the way.
Yeah, it looks like a juvenile. That tail's still pretty short for a magpie shrike. So it could be it's trying to locate its family again. Because these birds are cooperative breeders, so the offspring from the previous nest will stay to help with the new chicks that get reared. So it's quite normal to see 4 or 5 of these birds together. So unfortunately I'm not in the best light for you, but it is black and white. And obviously now we're here, it's being very quiet. It's got such a beautiful liquid call. I'm just checking behind us just in case we've overtaken the hyena, which I suspect we might have done, but I'm hoping maybe if we go around to the Quarantine or Philemon's Dip, we'll just drive up that side. Maybe we can catch up with it again. So a magpie shrike. Of course. house. Ah, there's another member of the family. Thought they couldn't be too far away. Ah, the rest of them is in the tree here. The dead tree at the back, I don't think you can see it very clearly. Oh, there we go, there's about 3 of them. I think you should be able to see them through. Oh, there we go, yeah. You can see the tail on this one much longer than the one we've just seen. Now, quite often when birds have long tails, it's to show how fit they are. During the breeding season, birds will grow the tails to show off to the females and show how fit they are because they can support this long tail. So the widers as well often grow quite a long tail. The paradise flycatcher is another one. And apparently even the swallows, it has an impact on the fitness. So the swallows can have minute differences in the tail length. And they've even done an experiment where they changed the tail length of the swallows, and the females could tell if the tail was changed ridiculously long, and they wouldn't select for them. And so what they'll do, they'll just take a little bit of feather and just add it to the end of the tail, or cut the tail slightly, the tail feather, so the bird wasn't in any pain. But quite amazing. Oh, there's a woodland kingfisher joining them as well now. There you go, you can hear the whistle. But certainly if they copy that, thank you. But yeah, so if they extended these swallowtails just a little bit, the females would select the males with that slightly longer tail. But as I say, if they increased it too much, they knew something was wrong. But you'll see that both male and female do have long tails, but the males do have longer tails than the females. But these guys keep it all year round, which is quite interesting. Obviously going through the daily ritual of preening, very important for birds, because remember, those feathers are their livelihood. They are the reason why they can escape predators, so they need to make sure those feathers are in tip-top condition. That's why you see birds preening so much. That's what it's called when they're cleaning themselves. So they will just make sure that all the feathers in the wing are all nicely cared for, and make sure that they're all in line and there's no bent ones, and they'll sort all the little interlocking branches of that feather are all working nicely and there's no gaps, and even on their body as well, because that obviously insulates them in cooler weather. Very, very important. And you'll quite often see the bird turning around and putting its beak towards its back, and that's where it has a gland, and that contains preen oil. And they'll wipe the preen oil on their beak, and then they'll use the beak just to put the preen oil all the way through the feathers. So that's when you'll see them kind of using the beak and kind of combing through. their feathers, and it just puts this oil on, and that helps to waterproof the birds as well. And it's supposed to contain some form of fungus property or stuff like that, just again to help protect the feathers. But they do need other assistance as well, and that's where they might roll in the dust to try and get rid of parasites and use ants and things like that. Some birds will use ants, and they'll try and wipe the ant all over them using the formic acid the ant contains to try and kill any bacteria or parasites or fungus that might grow on the feathers. A very, very important part of the daily ritual. Well, after that, yeah, I'm making my way back to the quarantine. Franklin's calling to our right. Very minor track going that way. Hyena track going that way. Just a partial. Just two little toes. Yeah, a couple going that way. Might be worth us checking in on the hyena den at Zoe's Road again at some stage. Let's go through Philemon's Dip. Let's see if we do hit it lucky with this hyena. So if signal holds this side, then we might just do a couple of laps up and down and just see if it will pop out. And we've got your Dung It for this morning. Just in front of us there. Quite old.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us.
Yep, go ahead. Welcome back everybody. And sorry about that. I think we from the dip in the shortly, I hope. Ooh. Sorry, Wendy. Doing the side pack. What happened right? And work out the plan from there. But also just seeing if there's any fresh hyena tracks. There's something on that side. I think it could be hyena again. Is that right? Cool. A funny little track. Just not clear enough to really show you guys. Very long fingers. Almost says to me an otter or a marsh mongoose. So maybe some zoomies out there, or some eagle-eyed viewers of the camera, just keep a lookout for any movement of an otter. And I do remember a few years ago, we've got the tracks here again. I won't tell you what, just in case I see a nice one, and then I can give it to you as a quiz, unless we run out of them. But yeah, we did have something that looked vaguely like the movement of an otter in the dam. We don't see them very often. But funnily enough, I picked one up on the area that I'm researching as well for the very first time on camera. And he's quite big. They head to the base of the tail, they're about that long. So they're pretty big. It looks like we had a genet coming through here. Looks, well, it's about the size of a house cat, the genet. Rings around the tail, a bit like a ring-tailed lemur or an African civet. I think that's why some people do get them mixed up. The African civet's actually much larger. About that sort of length again and that sort of height, whereas the genet, as I say, is like a small domestic house cat. It is part of the cat suborder, but it's not a true cat. It can't retract its claws. Okay. We've got one here. Quite a bit of sand on that side. Let's see. Unfortunately, we don't have the sun to cast any shadows. It might actually be a bit difficult. I might have to resort to the book to show you. Yeah. Yeah, actually this could be a marsh mongoose. There's very long fingers on this one. Maybe we'll have better luck showing you this one. Can you see? It's because it's in a slightly thicker sand. Can you see it clearly or not really from this angle? Let's say, with it being overcast, it's not the best tracking conditions. You do like to have a bit of sun because it casts the shadows. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. But it's not very clear. I'll see if I can show you in the book what I'm actually seeing. So this is the Animal Tracks by Louis Liedenberg, and this is probably the best tracking book you can get in South Africa. It has a little bit of everything in there. But Louis Liedenberg, also one of the top trackers in South Africa. Yeah, you can see it's been very well used. It's certainly my one of my Bibles to the bush. It goes everywhere with me. But if I open it up, this is what I'm seeing. So the elongation of the toes. Now if you've been tracking with me before, you'll know that a lot of the time the toes are quite oval shaped. But I'm seeing this long finger, and I'm just seeing that, and mostly that. You don't tend to see this fifth toe registering as much, but certainly this big back pad, which is what I'm seeing. And as I say, this long toe. The claws sometimes can actually melt into the toe, so it looks like it's just pointed. And sometimes if you get very nice thick substrate, then you get to see the claws as well. But yeah, I think we had a water mongoose pass through here, which you don't see very often. And this is why tracks, for me, are so fascinating, because a lot of these animals, sometimes you have to be out at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes they'll be active just as sun sets. Sometimes, if you're lucky, during the day. I have seen a water mongoose during the day, but generally speaking, they are nocturnal. So that's why, for me, I find it so fascinating reading what's happened the night before. And yeah, sometimes you might get lucky with those animals, but it's just a thrill to see that they've actually been through here. And as I say, I don't think we've ever documented a water mongoose here, but the tracks, as you can see, can be very different. And if you know what you're looking at, it is possible to pick up different species if you know the tracks of other animals very well. Now, I'm by no means a master tracker. You go through different levels. You can go from level 1, so that means that you do recognise some of the tracks, and it can go up to level 3. And if you go on a tracking assessment, the assessor will walk along and find a track just like I did, and he'll then circle it and say, what's that track inside that circle? And then you have to tell him. And if you get it correct, then you get a certain amount of points. If you get it wrong, you get points deducted. Now, if you get an easy track, so in the sand, full track, and it's a species that you should know. So a lion track, for example, will be an easy track. So if you get that, then if you get it wrong, you lose 3 points. And if you get it right, you get 1 point. But if you get a very difficult track, now this would be classed as a difficult one because it's a species you don't see very often. So if you get it right, based on the knowledge that you know, and you think, okay, well, it's not something that I do know, but it could be this because of this area and there's water close by and all that sort of thing. That's all part of tracking, putting all the picture together. So where are you finding the track? Okay, I'm right next to thick bush, so I'm likely to see these species. near the waters, the water where I know there's fish in the water, so these species might be attracted, that sort of thing. So you have to go through all that, and if you get that track right, then you get 3 points, but if you get it wrong, you only lose 1 point. So it's pretty fair, and then you have the intermediate ones as well. So that's how you get your levels. Now, if you get 100% on your tracking assessment, you can then qualify to go on to be a senior tracker, and then you have to go and do that. And it's the same process again, I believe. I've never gone through it. Maybe one day I'd like to do my tracking assessment again and see if I can't get the 100%. Because I haven't done it for quite a number of years now, and I know myself my tracking's definitely improved from when I first took that exam. I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago. So yeah, but I was on par for 100% even then, but then I made a couple of blonde mistakes. It takes quite a while. It's about a day and a half, sometimes 2 days, and it does take a lot of your concentration. It's quite amazing. But your Who Dung It, as I say, let me see if I can find it in the book. I say, unfortunately, it's not great weather, but I have been talking about, oh, just to show you with the otter, this is why it could have been the otter. Now again, you've got to remember that you don't always see what's in the book. So this is the clawless otter which we're likely to see in this area. So if I take that part away and that part away, that one again doesn't always register, then if I turn the page over again quickly, oh, she says quickly, but of course, there we go. So if I turn the page over, so if I do that again, I'll just try and show you quickly. I've lost my page again. So have that in your mind, and then quickly, look how similar that is. So that's why I try and have a quick look, but you have to look quite nice if you do find a track, because you could potentially mix them up as well. And that's also why I look down the sequence. That's what I was doing. So when you see me stop and then I'm starting to drive a little bit, I'm looking down the sequence just to try and see if I can get more detail, because the more detail you can get, the more accurate you can make of what you identify the animal. Okay, so let's just see. So I'll give you this. There you go. So this is what we were seeing. So if you'd like to play along, as I said, I would like to give it to you in the sand, but it's just not very clear. But this is your Who Dung It for this morning. This is the tracks that we are sitting on top of right now. So who made this track? So does it eat meat? Does it eat vegetation? And I'll give you a size. Oops. The people might have just been sneaking and seen the one at the top. I'll give you a size estimate. It's about that big. So that's the front and that's the back. That sort of size. So front and back. So questions at wildearth.tv. Put in the subject line what you think it is. Hashtag Safari Live. Hi Susie, welcome aboard this morning. Susie wants to know, what would the water mongoose be doing so far away from the water? The water mongoose can move quite far. I mean, I've actually seen the water mongoose up by me in the mountains, but there are the odd pools here and there. Okay, I think we'll do the west side and just see. I was hoping if we sat there long enough, maybe that hyena would have walked towards us, but Apparently not. But yeah, it's amazing where these little animals go to. But even though they're called a water mongoose, it's because they do feed on crustaceans, and that makes it quite a big part of the diet. Apparently, same with the otter as well. But they also eat fish, frogs, and anything aquatic. So that's where they get the name from as well. They also called a marsh mongoose. So they have two names. But they will move between the dams and the pans looking for food, so they won't just stay at one place. Oh, hello. Apparently elephants were here last night, because this was not here yesterday morning. Silver cluster leaf, it's broken off. I think probably from that tree there. We're going to get lucky and see if we can find ourselves some more elephants as well this morning. We'll do the western side of quarantine. But he's quite a big mongoose, so you might be used to seeing the dwarf mongoose, and the dwarf mongoose are about that sort of size. The marsh mongoose is about from nose to the base of the tail again. You're looking about that sort of size, and he's about that, and he's chocolate brown all over, and he has a tail probably about the same length as his body again. So all in all, he's quite a long mongoose. He's about that sort of length, nose to the tip of the tail, something like that. But where I am, I also get quite a rare mongoose as well, and that's the Mellors mongoose. We don't get it here, and I actually think it fills the same role as the white-tailed mongoose that we do get here. White-tailed is the largest mongoose that we get here in South Africa, and the white-tailed is probably just that little bit taller than the marsh. And the Mellors is slightly smaller, so the white-tailed probably stands about that tall, something like that, and the Mellors probably about that, and then the marsh about that. But the Mellors is two-toned, it's fairly light. So yeah, so fairly light in colour, and then the tail also two-toned, and that's how we can tell the difference on the camera traps, because they're both active usually at night, but I have had them occasionally during the day as well. Sorry, I didn't hear who that was from. Linda in California. Thanks, Linda, for the information. Apparently there was an otter around. So that's very, very cool. Awesome. Sherry, Michelle, Mark and Bonnie. Well done to you for getting the correct answer. It was the hyena track. Well done. And still no sign of the hyena that we found on Zoe's. Hi Kathy. Kathy was wondering from Indiana. Kathy was wondering if my family saw the close encounter with the elephant. And I know I said to everybody, don't tell my mum, but I did tell my mum. And I really wish I'd filmed her reaction because it was very, very funny. But when I explained to her what happened, she understood and she was like, oh, okay, cool, and he obviously wasn't being aggressive towards me. So yeah, so she's been sent the screenshot that a lot of people have been sending in. Thank you so much for that. So she's going to put that up on the wall. But yeah, definitely had to share that one with them. I stopped here because we've just got a few flowers left from the season on this tree. And this tree, we do get it all over the savannah area. Oh, I can hear the birchall's cuckoo calling. The rain's on its way at some stage. But yeah, you can see these beautiful yellow balls, and they, oh, when they're in full bloom, it's just stunning. And you should be able to see those huge thorns. Excuse me. And the acacias are very, very nutritious, and I think as far as leaves go, they're very palatable, very tasty. And that's because the acacias actually have bacteria in their roots to allow them to be able to fix nitrogen. Now, nitrogen is a very valuable resource for plants. They do need it, and most of the plants will take the nitrogen from the soil that the bacteria have actually turned into a form they can use for them. And the nitrogen will often come from the lightning strikes, so that will also change the nitrogen into a form that's utilised by the plants. And I say the bacteria in the soil as well, because they can't just take it up as nitrogen. But the acacias are very special, and that they're actually part of the pea family, and the peas can all do this as well. And as I say, they're called a legume, and they have this bacteria in their roots. So they don't need this bacteria in the soil. They've got their own bacteria, and it forms a mutualistic relationship. I know we've been speaking about that for the last week. And there is so many of these relationships in the bush, and this is one of them. So it's a mutualistic relationship. It's benefits to both sides. So the tree actually gets the nutrients, and the bacteria gets somewhere to live, and we'll get the moisture from the tree. And once it changes this nitrogen, the tree can utilise it and grow, and that's what makes them so palatable and so nutritious, and that's why the acacias need such a formidable defence. So that's why they have these thorns. And as they get older, now you'll notice there's a lot of thorns on this tree. And oh, I haven't given you the name of the tree. This is a sweet thorn. Oh, and I've just seen an ellie. I wonder if it's our gentleman. He was hanging around. Oh, yeah, he's walking. He's got a purpose. I think this could be our gentleman. See if we can maybe catch up with him as we go over the quarantine, because we may lose him. But yeah, so this is the sweet thorn, and I will tell you a little bit more as we go. Try and catch up with this ellie. See if I can just cut straight across. You see he's putting his trunk up, and it could be that he's caught the scent of a female that is an estrus. Oh, let's turn direction again. Let's see if it is him. Obviously we're quite far away still, so I can't smell it. But don't worry, I'm not going to try and relive the encounter that we had yesterday. Well, once was close enough, but it'd still be nice to see him. Just trying to work out where he's going. Let's say he does seem to be just changing his direction constantly. And I think that's what happened yesterday as well, because he was changing his direction constantly. There was no... Yes, I'm going... You can just see actually, like I was just saying, he was actually heading down towards Gary Dam, and now he's completely changed his mind and headed in the opposite direction. Now I had got it slightly mixed up with the must. They do go into must for longer periods as they get older. I forgot, I thought it was the other way around. I say it's, you must excuse me, sometimes just not using the information for over 3 years, it does get a little bit jumbled occasionally. But yeah, as they get older, then they go into must for longer periods of time, not the other way around. Just let them know that we have bull here. All stations 1 and below west side quarantine. One Madonna and half. Actually, I think this is a different bull. You see, there's no hole in his ear. So yeah, so when they're younger, usually in their 20s, they can go into must for about, well, for a few days, maybe up to 2 or 3 months, and then as they get to the 30s, 40s, they can be going into must 7 to 8 months sometimes. And then as they get much, much older, it starts decreasing again, and it gets more erratic as well. I think that was at the drongo there. And again, we're still keeping our distance. I can still see his temporal lobes were weeping slightly as well. It just seems to be one side. And interestingly enough, because I was also doing a little bit of reading yesterday as well again, just to refresh my knowledge. Yeah, so just to confirm, this isn't the same bull ellie from yesterday. I have noticed there's no holes in the ears. And as I say, I hadn't actually realised that when the temporal lobe is weeping like that, it has actually become swollen, and apparently that's another reason why they might be a little bit more aggressive than even the most placid of animals normally would be, because of the pain that temporal lobe is actually causing. And apparently it's very similar to an extreme toothache. And that's quite often why they'll rub their heads as well, which I didn't realise. So that does make more sense, you know, when you do see that temporal lobe weeping, and that, you know, they do become a little bit more, a lot more aggressive, or they can be a lot more aggressive and just irritable, generally irritable. So that could have something to do with it. And that's the temporal lobe you can see just behind the eye. And that's a good sign when you see it weeping. Now this isn't weeping as much, it could be that it's just finishing his must cycle. And must just means that they have an increased level of testosterone running around the body, and it makes them ready to mate, and it gives them a lot more confidence as well, and they will strut their stuff, and they become a lot more appealing to females. So when the bulls do go into must, apparently they can have 60 times more testosterone in the body than normal. So they are willing to fight anything and everything that gets in the way. And as I say, that's why they'll be more irritable. Even to the smaller animals, you know, they'll chase off the impala and the warthogs as well. And even birds. As I say, you saw that head shake, and the drongo was just sitting behind him. Hi, Terry. I'm not sure what you mean by your question about the stride of the elephant. How far they can move their foot, and it's pretty much as what you've just been seeing you move it now. Even when they run, it's actually quite comical because they're trying to get the legs to go faster, and they can't reach out very far at all. So it's pretty much what you're seeing him do here. As I say, he has done a head shake, he has shown that he's a little bit irritable. So I am keeping my eye on that. So obviously we don't want to antagonize him, but you can see he seems to be quite happy just eating the marulas, but there's no way I'm going to go any closer. But probably about the same distance as what we were from the other bull ellie yesterday. And the little fork-tailed drongo, the little black bird that you might have been seeing. Waiting to see if there's any insects that he'll kick up while he's moving around. But yeah, they're not able to run like other animals, but they do pick up speed. Now when the females do come into estrus and they're looking for a mate, they will give off a call that's known as the estrus chorus, and many of the females, even if they're not in estrus, they will pick up the call as well. And that is actually a signal to the bull elephants in the area that they're wanting to mate, and they're looking for a mate, and the bulls will try and locate them. And you can see he's putting up his trunk, so it could be he's just starting. his must cycle, or ending his must cycle. So there's some Franklin at the back there. He's changing direction again. He's heading that way. As I say, we are keeping our distance. I am keeping an eye on him. I think we might lose him through the thick of the bush. And I will tell you a little bit more about the otter. Apparently that broke up a little bit. He's there, he's still in the mission. See if we can get another view of him for you. Just through the bushes there. I just have seen him, yeah, he's just carried on north. So we're getting into a fairly thick bush there. So we're going to go around rather than go that way and try and follow him. Okay, so you just want to know the length of the stride, Terry. Yeah, I'd say just a couple of meters for each, yeah. So they do cover a lot of ground because they're such a big animal. But, yeah, I'd say every time they move the foot forward, maybe just over a meter. Michelle, can we outrun an elephant? No. If an elephant decides it's going to go full pace, you're not going to be able to outrun it. And that's true for pretty much everything that I can think of large animal wise. Everything can run faster than us. Lions and leopards can charge at 22 meters a second. I'm just trying to think for the elephants. I think it's about 30 kilometers an hour. I will have to check that up and say the numbers after 3 years are becoming a little bit hazy. For some reason, the one that sticks in my head, 25 kilometers. Okay, so about right. About 25 kilometers an hour. So it wasn't too far from the 30. I think you can see he's actually just tucked in. So I'd actually have to get right on top of him if I carry on along the road. Got a bit of a bank here. Just see if I can get. He tucked himself just in the side there. Yeah, I think he's actually disappeared now. I think I'm looking at the branch. Oh, the Lagos shortcut is here. Did you see where it? Am I looking at a branch now? Okay, wow. Sorry, can you just repeat that? Okay, yeah, so charging speed about 40 k's. Yeah. I seem to remember that. I might be pushing it with the signal here.
We'll need to find the real bug.
See if I can hear him. But we may have to finish our search. It is getting quite thick here, and as I say, it was getting a little bit irritable. So I was hoping if he was still out in the open here, we might be able to see him. But so I don't want to push our luck either. He did look a little bit irritated with the drongo that was following. You can see the drongo actually disappeared after that. But I thought it was worth a try because obviously this is a little bit more open, so we might have had another view of him. But let's head back towards the quarantine area and just see what else is around there. So I was telling you about the sweet thorn as well. Yeah, I think he went in where I saw those the tree trunks just up the road, and I thought that was still his leg. Yeah. Maybe he could go into that thick patch. Okay. Oh, kite. A little kite might just be a bit awkward. You can fly this way. It's gone that way. So the sweet thorn gets its name because of the gum that's actually in the tree. And when the tree gets damaged, it'll actually give off or send this gum or sap to heal the wound of the tree. And especially the acacias, most of the acacias you can actually eat the gum, but the sweet thorn in particular is very, very sweet, and that's why it got given its name. And before we had refined sugars, the sweet thorn gum was actually sold as cake gum, as confectionery, before we had the refined sugars. But now we're so used to the refined sugars that gum doesn't taste sweet at all. You can try it, but believe me, it's not great. But it's still loved by monkeys, vervet monkeys, and galagos. Lego shortcut. So the otter, some people missed about the otter. There's rail tracks again up and down here, so busy along here last night. goshawk flying over with something in its mouth, and it did actually land in this tree here. I think there's quite a lot of foliage there. You see him. Let's see if I can locate him, because if he's lower down, yeah, I'll have to keep a lookout for him. Yeah, I can't see him unfortunately. I have to keep an eye out because I'd love to try and ID who it is. So yeah, the otter, I'm not sure what you guys missed, but the otter nose to base of tail is probably about this long, so with the tail is probably about that sort of length. He's quite big. And apparently the otter was seen at Gary Dam a few days ago. So that's really cool news. Otters will be eating crustaceans and fish, anything along those lines. Like monkeys, monkeys. Monkeys heading that way. Oh, it's nice to catch up with another bull ellie. And actually the holes in the ears do help to identify the individuals. And I did forget to mention yesterday, I think I was asked how do they get the holes in the ears. And I did forget to mention the other way could potentially be when they're fighting and they happen to be caught by tusks. I think I got sidetracked. But they can catch them on trees as well, so they might rip them by accident. There's a number of ways you can get tears in the... Oh, African monarch again. Just here. Oh, she's going. Again, quite a lazy flight, so definitely an African monarch. The diadem is one of the ones... Oh, she's gone too far now. Come back! You might just see it fluttering around there. Beautiful orange butterfly. Highly toxic. But the diadem is one of the mimics. She knows she's being filmed. The males actually have 2 black spots just at the back of the wing. So you can tell the male and female apart. But when they've got such a lazy flight, they don't need to worry about being caught, because chances are birds at some stage may have tried to eat the butterflies and spat them out because they're so bitter because of all the toxins. You can see kind of hovering. Okay, she's picked up her speed a little bit, but she was definitely a very lazy flight when we first found her. So the birds would spit it out, and then they would remember, okay, those colours is a no-go area for feeding. And that's how it works. So there you don't need to worry about being caught, because chances are the birds have had a run-in at some stage in their life. So the mimics, who aren't actually toxic, are going to be flying a lot faster because they're not toxic, so they want to keep out of harm's way. So that's how you can tell the difference between the African monarch and the mimic, the diadem. So they have more of a direct flight. Even though she was picking up a speed then, it was still fairly erratic and fairly lazy. But the mimic is just, oh, it's amazing. It is so good. And as I say, you really do need to just use the flight. There's quite a few here. There we go. And it was on the end of the plant there. There we go. And where they get the toxins from, the caterpillars actually eat things like milkweed, and the toxins get passed from the caterpillar to the adult. So they have to feed on toxic plants to gain the toxins themselves, whereas the acreas, which are more of a streamlined butterfly, they can actually synthesize their own toxins. They don't actually have to eat the toxic plant itself, but they'll eat other things to be able to create the toxins. And somebody was asking about monkeys. Monkeys and where are they? And what species do we have here? Can you just repeat who was asking about the monkeys? Tammy! Hi Tammy! Tammy wanted to know where are the monkeys and what species do we have? Good to hear from you, Tammy. And we've got the vervet monkeys. Quite a small monkey, and that's whose tracks I've actually been seeing. We don't tend to see the monkeys because they'll be in the thick of the trees, so you don't often see them. You have to listen out for the rustling in the trees or the movement of the branches, and that's why also we do check the trees. Sometimes they do make some sounds, but generally they're pretty quiet. They don't tend to chat as much as the baboons do. Baboons are another type of monkey that we get here. And this is going to be your next Who Dung It. Who Dung It just on the right here. Able to get those tracks there. These ones should be pretty clear. These ones should come up nicely. Yeah, there we go. Now, a giveaway for this one, there is quite a lot of them, so that should help you. Again, remember where we are. We're on quarantine, so that should help you. So questions at wildearth.tv, what animal is this? Hashtag Safari Live. And if you are sending the email through, just put in the subject line what animal it is. Who dung it? This is your second question for the morning. And I don't need to use the book because that is nice and clear. And size-wise, you're looking about that sort of size. Quite small. We don't get the Samanga monkey here, but that is another species of monkey that's... Ooh! He's popped out again. Maybe catching the scent of something. And it's another bull ellie. I wonder if it's the same guy from back there. You can see he's walking very proud. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. He had a slightly shorter tusk. Are you following us, mister? I think just before we started up, I think there was a female and a couple of youngsters seen by Andrew, but as I went to go and try and look for them, we then changed our plans. Just see where he's going. Again, you can just see he's just changing direction constantly. Louis and Linda. And apparently everyone on Twitter also got it right. Well done, everybody. Great to hear you're getting your tracking eye in there again. It was the impala. He kept looking like he was going to go down towards the dam, but changing his mind. Once again, I'm just making sure I'm not sitting under any marula trees. Just so I don't give him any cause to want to challenge us for his food. But as I say, yeah, certainly walking very proud, and he definitely has a different manner about him than the bull yesterday. He does have something to prove, so that's why I'm definitely keeping my distance. Even more so now. Oh, waterbuck, hello. And the waterbuck's even moving out of his way. Hello, beautiful boy. Look at it. He's a beautiful bull. Wow. Horns on him are amazing. And check all the ridges on the horns. Now this actually stops the horns. When they lock the horns together, those ridges actually stop the horns from slipping. Because when the animals do fight, I'm going to try and catch up with him again. But when the animals do fight, it's not a case of who can try and kill the other. It's not all about that. It's not actually the reason why they fight. It's a test of strength. So that just helps the horns to interlock, and then they can start pushing each other backwards and forwards. Oh, what have you seen? Check the ears. He's just starting. His ears have gone forward, and his nostrils are flaring. He's just picked up something. Oh, he doesn't like whatever's there. Is it the bush? You can see, look, he's got one ear on that bush. I wonder, what are you picking up, mister? He's still going fairly close to it, but he looked back at that bush, so it's something to do with this bush here. Maybe there's a snake in there. Now, waterbuck are associated with water. That's where they get the name from. And usually you can smell them. They're really musty. Not as musty as an elephant in must. They are very musty. And it's thought that their meat is not very tasty to animals because of this musty gland, and that actually helps to waterproof the fur, and it's that oil that smells. Oh, I can smell him now, can you? What was in this bush here? There he goes. The kingfisher's cawing all over quarantine this morning. He stopped again, and again, ears pointing forward. Now, waterbuck bulls are not very tolerant of other bulls. They're highly territorial. It could be that he's just left his territory to come and drink. But I'd say he would have a prime territory. He is such a stunning bull. He's putting his head down to feed. And just right next to the bush where he stopped, I'm not seeing anything in there. So it might well have been a snake he picked up. Oh, you are stunning. And you can see that beautiful white circle around his rump. Very characteristic of the waterbuck. I say quite long fur. The males tend to smell more than the females. They tend to have more of a musty odour than the females, but even the females have been able to smell occasionally. They do have a typical antelope social structure, so males with the territories and the female herds. And again, it tends to be small herds, not like we've seen with the impala. They usually have these very large herds. But the females, maybe 7, 8, around that sort of size. But we have seen on a very occasion, or very occasionally, we've seen more than the 8 or 9. I think the most I've ever seen is about 15, 17 together, and there was actually a couple of bulls there which really blew me away. You see, they're not very tolerant of other bulls, and there were 2 big bulls as well. The woodlands kingfishers definitely have a lot to say this morning. And let's see if anybody could get the idea on this bird this morning. And again, preening, getting ready for the day, preparing the feathers, and just occasionally you might see the head just turning back to the base of the tail where that preen gland is. So if you want to try and ID the bird, look at the colour of the eye, that will help you. So questions at wildearth.tv, what is that bird? Or hashtag Safari Live. And there's the woodlands kingfishers. I think there was a pair just in the tree there, and there was another one that flew off. Possibly the baby. They do come back to South Africa to breed, and then they'll head back to the centre of Africa for the winter period. Our waterbuck bull has stopped now. Quite nice to catch up with him again though. Then we'll see if we can maybe have another view of that Ellie bull. It was on the other side there. We don't get to see the waterbuck very often. Oh, what's that soaring in the sky there? You see the little birds mobbing him. Ah, it's the gymnogene again, the African harrier hawk. No wonder he's getting mobbed. The raider of nests. So you see a lot of little birds, and there's one or two that are getting very close. And I wonder if they're landing a peck on him. Yeah, look, oh, really close. I don't know if those little specks are coming up. We are a little bit too far away, but and it looks like he's molting. Now you might have noticed there's a couple of gaps on the wing, and that's very normal. And they'll actually, when they molt, they'll molt the same feather on both wings so that they stay aerodynamic. Because if obviously they have the one, it's going to be a little bit tougher to fly. Occasionally you do see it, but generally speaking, if they are molting and that's just replacing the feathers, then they'll have it on both sides of the wing. There we go. Well, he stopped being mobbed. I think it is because he is climbing a little bit higher and he is moving further away. So he does pose a threat to nests, the gymnogene, African harrier hawk. If I remember rightly, gymnogene supposed, I think it was supposed to be Greek for bare face. Maybe someone can check that for us. Bare face, because he does have a bare patch, or bare cheek, I think it translates as. Belinda and Bunny, well done. Coming back with the correct answer. Cape turtle dove. That's the dove that keeps saying work harder, especially because it's Monday morning. Oh, just Linda, sorry. Okay, where did my waterbuck go now? I need to catch up with him again. There he is. Oh, you're on a mission, my friend. You're looking for some females, is that what your story is? Now he does obviously have to be a little bit more alert because he is on his own. So he doesn't have that luxury of having somebody else watch his back. So that's why I think he's taking it easy. And that's obviously why he survived this long. His horns are huge. Because he's just checked everything out. Size-wise, they're probably about the same size as a female kudu. But just that little bit wider. These kingfishers are very adamant they want to be seen. Every time I keep thinking we're going to get a nice view of them, they keep flying off. They just want to be heard and not seen today. But yeah, listen out for the Cape turtle dove. It is very typical. The call of the bush. Okay, well I'm going to turn around and head on to the side of the quarantine now. Since as our waterbuck bull is disappearing into the bush. They're beautiful to see them though. Oh, and I can can hear the emerald spotted wood dove. It's actually quite a nice little dove. I'll show you quickly. There we go. Keep a lookout for him for you. 220. So just be careful, it can sound fairly similar to the birchwall's cuckoo. So this is the dove here. Very pretty, it's got the red on the wings, so when it flies you can see that red. But it's the two little green spots is where it gets its name. And those are metallic. So if you get to see them in the sunlight, oh, they are beautiful. And then the birchwall's cuckoo, which is part of the cuckoo family, but he does build his own nest. So he doesn't do what the other cuckoos do and lay the eggs in somebody else's nest. So this guy here, the birchwall's cuckoo. So this is the rainbird. So whenever I talk about the rainbird, and he kind of does a so it does sound slightly different to the emerald spotted wood dove that's calling. So that is the birchwall's cuckoo that we get around here. And that copper on his back is you can just see a flash of it. But he tends to stay hidden in the bushes. So occasionally you'll see him sitting out on top of the bush. Hear the bleating warbler. Greenback Comotra, I think it's called now. I think I prefer the bleating warbler one. Blip, 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 blip. Tiny little bird. Well, it's no good calling. You're going to have to come and sit here where we can actually see you. So I had a really good look in that bush to see if we could see a snake. Couldn't see anything. The scent left behind by the water buck, I think. Okay, so I'll head round to the other side of the quarantine. I might see if we can get down to Valley Down, just see if there's anything around there. Looks like all the dung beetles are done for the season. I was really hoping maybe I could show you a dung beetle today. But you know all the dung piles, there's nothing. They've come to the end of their season. Here's another Who Dung It. I'm going to grab a piece for you. Just bear with me. There you go. Oops. So this is your next question, who dung it? So the reason why I've picked this bit up is this helps to give it away. But I've picked this piece up so you can actually see inside it. You can see it's very small. So who dung it? Again, have a think about who might utilise this area. That might help to give it away. And welcome on board to you, Jodie. Oh, I was talking about monkeys as well, wasn't I? Jodie wants to know, we haven't seen any beaters. Why have we not seen any beaters? And we saw the little beater a couple of days ago now, I think. So the little beaters will stick around. The Europeans might have already started heading back. I know my way, I haven't heard them for quite a while. So if you would like to play along, all you have to do is send through your answers to questions at wildearth.tv and send through to the Twitter account as well, #SafariLive. Who dung it? And there is actually some digging here, probably from the dung beetles, because dung beetles have several ways of dealing with the dung, so depending on their species. So this species looks like there was the dung pile there, and they actually dug straight down underneath the dung pile, and they'll just take the piece of dung straight down into the ground. And the reason for doing this is to actually provide food for the eggs. So when the eggs hatch, the offspring actually have something to eat. You also get dung beetles actually just laying the eggs straight in the pile of dung, which is why we avoid driving straight through the dung. We're trying to go around it or put our wheels so it's over the dung pile, because there's a lot of insects that will utilise the dung. Then you'll get the ones that are very typical that a lot of people know about, and they will build the balls, and they've actually got it almost looks like claws, but they're not. It's not really claws. It's just like fingers on the end of their legs, and that helps them to gather up the dung and build the dung ball. And you know the ones that have done it previously, because they actually build a really nice round ball, and it just rolls so smoothly. And you can see the ones that haven't maybe done it before, because they end up with a piece of flat dung or even a bit of old dung, and they'll just try and roll that, and obviously that's a lot more energy wasted doing that. And then you will get the fourth type of dung beetle, who will steal those dung balls. Once they've been done and they've started rolling away, they'll steal those dung balls off of the owner. So there's 4 different ways they will deal with dung. I say, I was hoping to see them, but yeah, the European beaters, Jodie, after they have headed home. It's possible, I think you should have been seeing the white-fronted beater here if I remember rightly, but I'm just trying to remember where we used to see them. Oh. And a flower for this morning. Quite a pretty flower. And it's a bit of a creep, it creeps along the ground. Can you get that purple flower? Or am I a bit too close? Yeah, affirmative. Alright everybody, welcome back. And I think I lost you. Sharon, Emily, Pam and Kathy, welcome back. Well done, you got the dung correct. It was wildebeest. And one of the big giveaways of wildebeest dung is that it clumps together. Now, especially when we're going into winter, or going from winter into summer, there's a lot of moisture that's found in the vegetation as soon as we have the rains. And sometimes the animals' dung can start clumping together, other animals that don't usually clump together because their diet has changed slightly with the amount of nutrients available. So as you're going into that season, or going from the winter to the summer, you do have to be mindful of that. But generally speaking, wildebeest all year round will quite often clump together like that. So we're looking at this beautiful flower here, and I'm just going to grab some leaves, because if ever you're stuck in the bush, you can use this to wash yourself. So if I can actually, I'm going to have to use water for this, so I'm going to have to stay outside the car. If I actually put a bit of water on the leaves and rub them together, hopefully it should start, oh I can feel it. There you go, can you see that's quite soapy, that substance, can you see that? This is bush soap. There you go. It doesn't feel very nice, but it does feel soapy. So, for those of you who are concerned about me playing with dung, there you go, I'm washing my hands now. With a bush soap. So it's called it's got a number of names. The devil's thorn, the sheep's thorn, and I picked up a seed to show you why. There you go, there's the seed. If I put it on there, it might be easier for you to see. It just smells planty. Doesn't really have much of a smell to it. But that's why it gets called the devil's thorn. There is also a plant called devil's claw, and that gets sold commercially. It could be used for a number of ailments apparently. But this one is slightly different. But as I say, very nice to have it as a bush soap if ever you are stuck in the bush and want to wash yourself. And a beautiful flower, certainly this time of year it's very easily recognisable with that purple trumpet. Quite pretty. And the purpose of those the reason why they have the two thorns is so that if animals walk over these seeds, they'll stick to the hooves, and that's possibly where it got the name sheep's thorn. So they'll stick into the hooves, and as they walk, they'll eventually drop off. But they're pretty hard. And a lot of people asking why I'm only picking up the herbivore dung and not the cat dung. Well, I've not found any cat dung yet, unfortunately, but I wouldn't pick it up anyway. The reason being, there's a lot of bacteria in carnivore dung because of what they eat. So you don't want to be picking up any carnivore dung. But herbivore dung, it's pretty much just grass or leaves. And that's about it. And as I say, there is the age-old tradition here in South Africa of playing the boxed draw competition, where you take a bit of impala dung and try and spit it as far as you can, which I am pitiful at, so I'm not going to demonstrate it. I have done it on a number of occasions, and I still haven't improved. If I had a sporting chance, then I might have a go. Ooh, we've got another track here. It's nice that the bush newspaper has been reset. So I see a lot of the other tracks as well. This one is very characteristic. You won't see anything else like this. Are you able to get that line there? Or am I still a little bit too far away? I should be able to get it. So in between the tyre tracks, there we go, yeah. There we go. So it's probably about the width of my finger, but you can see there's a line there and there's a line there. And this is from a shungololo, otherwise known as a millipede. So if I see a millipede, nice to know they're still out and about. I'll see if I can actually show you a millipede. Giant African millipede. Although there are a number of species out here in Africa, there's one that looks like a zebra, black and white, and I've even seen one black and red. But again, just like the butterfly, the African monarchs, and there's a few of them here again. And there looks to be another species, possibly the broad-bordered yellow, dancing around in the grass there. Oh, and of course, as soon as I talk about them, they fly off. But there's the yellow dancing around. You can see it's actually got a much quicker flight, so hopefully that shows the difference between the lazy flight of the monarch and the quicker flight of the definitely going to have your work cut out trying to keep up with them. But the African monarchs, there's one or two just dancing around here as well. And these colours, these bright colours, are a universal warning all over the world. And they do warn of either chemical defense, or if they eaten, that they're toxic. It could be that they are highly aggressive, or there's some way that they can actually defend themselves, and it's the universal language. It's called aposematic coloration, and anything that has the potential to do damage. Oh, who's flying over? Oh, it could well have been a lizard buzzard. He just flew straight over. But yeah, anyone who has that, so the oranges, the reds, the whites, the blacks, it's all warning. So if you see an animal like that and you're not sure if it can do damage to you, steer clear of it, because chances are it could. And if you're not sure, even if it is a mimic, you're best err on the side of caution and stay away from it. Snakes are one of those animals that will warn you that they have venom, and that's why the mimics work so well, because it is universal. Oh, and I promised that we would show you hibiscus, and there's a few of them here actually, these yellow flowers. So I did comment there was the hibiscus on drive the other day. And this is one of those species of hibiscus. Apparently you can get a hibiscus tea, I've never tried it. And even some of the hibiscus have the property of what I just showed you with the sheep thorn or the devil's thorn, that you can get the leaves and you can rub them together with water to create soap. And it looks like we've got some wild sesame just behind you there as well. Very cool. Almost looks like the trumpet of a foxglove. Let's move back over here a little bit. Oh, monkeys. I still need to come back to monkeys as well, I will do. But yeah, that little trumpet flower again. A little bit further back, a little bit on there. Yeah, there you go. That's wild sesame. Foxglove, we do get wild foxglove. Stands a little bit taller than the wild sesame. If I remember rightly, you're supposed to be able to mix a part of this plant with milk, and it's supposed to help with a snake bite, but I think that's more superstition than fact. And there are 3 different types of venom that snakes do have, just while I'm thinking about it. The snakes that we get in this country, there's a lot of venomous snakes actually. And the venomous snakes we get the puff adders here, and they go through the whole warning of puffing themselves up, and it's that, and that's where they get the name from. And they have what's called cytotoxic venom. So if they bite you, your limb will actually start swelling and go black, because the toxin will actually damage the tissue. So it's not a very, well, none of them are very nice to be bitten by, but that one isn't, but it's localized. So if you get bitten on your finger, you're going to have your finger swell up, and if you don't get to hospital quick enough, you could lose that finger. Then you get the cobras, which is what the mambas belong to, and that's neurotoxin. Now, if they bite you, it affects your whole body. It actually shuts down your nervous system, and it starts to paralyze you, and you also get massive headache as well, and it just affects the whole of your nervous system. So even your heart eventually will stop you. It's very difficult to breathe, and if you're bitten by a black mamba, it could be anywhere between the matter of minutes to a few hours before you actually die. But if you can get to hospital, they'll actually put you on life support, and they'll treat the symptoms systematically. They do have anti-venom, but what they found is a lot of people are actually allergic to the anti-venom. So they'll actually treat the symptoms and put you on life support and try and let your body actually work the toxin through the body and work it out. The last type of toxin possibly could be one of the worst, but luckily the snakes that actually carry that toxin are very placid, and you don't really hear of people being bitten in the wild by these snakes. Only handlers, the twig snake or the vine snake, and we also have the boomslang, and they carry a toxin that's called hematoxin. Now if you get bitten, any soft tissue will actually start to bleed. After 2 or 3 days you'll start to bleed from that tissue. But when they bite you, you know that you've been bitten by that particular type of snake, even if you don't see it, because that wound will not heal. It actually stops the blood from clotting. So not a very nice way to go. So again, if you get bitten, they'll actually have to give you a blood transplant and pretty much change all of the blood in your body. So not a very good way to go. But having said that, these snakes go through a lot of ways to actually stop biting. They actually don't want to bite you, so they actually tell you, look, I don't want you near me, and that's why the cobras will raise their hoods, and that's why the puff adder will puff itself out. You're hearing the bird in the background there. easy. There you go. See if anyone can ID that call for us. Questions at wildearth.tv and hashtag Safari Live. Who's that bird calling? Oh, nice. Green woodhoopoes. This isn't the bird that's calling. Again, another cooperative breeder. You tend to find families of these birds. And you can see that long curved red bill, and you can see exactly what you're using it for. They're probing inside the wood to see if they can find any grubs, and that bill is very sensitive. And the white on the wings and on the tail, again, very characteristic. And you see 3 or 4 of these all flying together, you know you've got yourself a green woodhoopoo. Even if the sun's not shining on them, they are metallic green when it does. It's slightly bigger than the helmeted shrikes we saw the other day. And generally speaking, mainly when people get bitten in the wild, it's because they're trying to kill the snake to try and get rid of it. And that's when most people get bitten. I mean, obviously there's going to be 1 or 2 other cases that aren't like that, but mainly if you hear about the cases, it's because they've tried to kill the snake, or they've picked the snake up if it's pretending to be dead, like the wrinkles, like the opossum does. They play dead in the hope that whatever's threatening them will move away. And people think, "Oh, dead snake, let's play with it." Pick it up and try and identify it, and that's when they get bitten. There goes the green woodhoopoo. Oh, and then we have the starlings sitting. Oh, that's nice. Showing off its metallic colours again. Now again, the layers in their feathers cause them to be metallic like this. So Jodie was asking about the bee-eaters earlier. The bee-eaters get their colours because of what they eat. So the carotenoids come from what the birds actually eat, and that produces the yellows and some of the greens. But the metallic colours like this is the layers of keratin within the feather. And the keratin also helps well, it is actually what the feather's made of. And then within the feather they have the different layers, and that helps to scatter the light that the sun emits. And you just end up with these beautiful metallic colours. Yeah, I think our bird is somewhere very close by now. It's following us. I can't see RC, the bird from the Netherlands. Well done, RC. I didn't doubt for a second you wouldn't get it. Welcome on board, RC. Great to hear from you. And it is the crested barbet. Crested barbet. Let me just see if I can find him here. 273. There we go, a crested barbet. This one here. So I'll see if we can stay with you as we head down to Gowrie Dam. I'm really hoping the signal will hold, so we can maybe see if we can do a bit of birding and see what's down by Gowrie Dam. I was hoping maybe we'll be lucky with somebody having a poke around here, but we might just come back up and have a drive around, because you never know what is around. And even though drive the same roads. They change constantly because of the animals moving backwards and forwards constantly. So we shall see. So the vervet monkeys might be down here. This is one of the favourite areas because I know somebody was asking about the monkeys. And the baboons as well. That's another kind of monkey that we get. And there was a troop here, but I believe they've moved off now. And sometimes those troops can get up to about 100 strong, but it was always a very small troop here and it was always fragmented. So it's not really surprising that they did move off. Maybe they got incorporated into another troop. But yeah, we don't seem to see the baboons very often nowadays. The Samanga monkey, I think there's one or two pockets in the Greater Kruger where the Samanga monkey occurs. Sykes monkey is its other name, but it tends to be a more forest-dwelling monkey. So it's not really a savanna-dwelling monkey, which is where we are. We're in savanna. Oh, we have a buffalo. And that's where our impala herd are. See, having a drink first thing this morning. Well, there you go, away bird. Well, still no sign of our bull Ellie. I'm glad we got to see him when we did then. But I say he was very erratic, moving this way and that way. The Samanga monkey, just a little bit bigger than the vervet monkey, not as big as the buffalo. As the baboon. Wow. A monkey as big as a buffalo. What a scary thought. And then of course we have the two primitive monkeys. They're known as prosimians before monkey, which is what the lemurs also belong to, the prosimians. And they are, I keep wanting to say nightjar, they are the nachharpies. That's why I'm having the nightjar in my head. The bush babies, otherwise known as galagos, or galagos, depends on how you want to say it. And there is one buffalo. And there is the call of the hornbills somewhere in the tree in front of us. Let's see if we can catch up with them at some stage. Oh, and I can hear the parrots. Parrots are back. I told you, every time I make my way down to the dam, those fish eagles are no longer here. Okay, I'm going to see if I can maybe just get up to where those impala are, so at least we have a view of the dam. So hopefully you'll stay with us. Love that call. Wow, look at all this red star zinnia here. Sure, it's like a little outcrop here. This red flower, it's actually starting to lose its bright red colour, but in the height of the summer it's just this beautiful red colour. And it comes all the way from South America. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of alien invasive species here in South Africa, and apparently they were brought in with horse feed when the British were fighting the Afrikaans in the early 1900s. And the jacaranda also came in. It's probably quite a famous tree, and a lot of people think it is South African, but it's actually South American. Oh, looks like there's a few people asking about the buffalo weaver nest. Yeah, we'll see if we can have a view of that in a second. But there seemed to have been a bit of a rivalry between one of these starlings and the hornbill on the log there. So there's obviously something tasty inside there that both of them want. Again, you can see using that bill to probe inside the tree. There might be anything tasty under there. Mammal, lizard, insect.
Yeah, I wanted to wait till I zoomed out to fix it.
Just going to remove that spider web for you. It's amazing how we pick it up, and actually that's how spiders move. If you ever wonder why you just suddenly get this random bit of web across your face, it's because the spiders actually spin a bit of silk and let the wind take it, and if they're small enough they'll actually go with it, and it's known as ballooning, and that's how spiders can actually move from place to place. So it could be just this little bit of silk that they've let off to try and float from place to place. It could be that they're actually letting out the silk so that it will actually go across to another part of the bush or to the tree. But yeah, quite amazing, eh? Quite ingenious. Amazing how nature finds a way. But yeah, we'll have a quick look at the buffalo weaver nest. Pretty large nests that you don't get a chance to see from the camera very often. There is one right above the camera. The camera's in that tree there. Oh, there's all the buffalo this side. Oh, there's somebody big that just took off. Ah, there's the fish eagle. Yes, nice.
I'll get there.
Sorry, there's so much going on. Shame, with that fish eagle taking off, the thick knees panicked. So that was the buffalo weaver nest. Quite a mess of sticks. But yeah, the fish eagle's in there, the tree right at the back. Oh, that's so cool. Just say how every time I come down here they've disappeared. That is a juvenile. He's going through several molts before he becomes an adult. Anywhere between 5 and 7 years for birds of prey to molt their juvenile feathers and have their adult plumage. Am I hearing a squirrel? Yeah, I'm hearing a squirrel. I think that squirrel will be calling for the fish eagle though. Any aerial predator could be a potential threat, although as the fish eagle's name suggests, he does eat fish, and that's why you quite often see them around by the dam. And this particular eagle actually has bare legs, so the feathers don't get waterlogged when they go fishing. So maybe he was actually, he came out from just behind where the impala were. I'm going to just pull forward a little bit more so maybe we can see the buffalo a bit better than the impala. But maybe he had a nice spot there for hunting. Come on, parrots, come and sit in this tree here. Yay! They did. Let me just see if I can pull back for you. And they went right to the top through this fork here. Yes, we might be able to get them. There we go. Brown-headed parrots. You can see that beautiful lime green. Oh! And here comes a big buffalo. I think he was actually the buffalo we first saw on the opposite side of the bank. He's making his way around to where all the other buffalo are. You can hear that high-pitched squawking, typical of a parrot. And they'll be eating the seed pods and any fruits that they can find in the trees. Now, doves and parrots have one thing in common. It's the way they actually feed their chicks. And they actually feed the chicks something called pigeon milk. And it actually is secreted by glands in the throat. Rather than, you know, most birds will go and find grubs to go and feed their chicks, but the parrots and the doves and the pigeons feed them this pigeon milk that they produce themselves. Oh, shame. These impala are looking really unimpressed with the approach of the buffalo. But interesting, they've split off from the other part of the herd. I think there could be... Now, why are you all getting up? You. I think he's looking really unimpressed because he's just come from there. Oh, shame. The impala seem to be a little bit edgy now. I don't know if it's because something startled those buffaloes. I don't know if maybe someone was half asleep and maybe heard us. Or whether something actually came up to them in the water. We did see them run out of the water, yes. When was it? It was a few days ago. Whatever it was, I'm not impressed at all. Oh, there's one buffalo that stayed this side. Maybe it was something in the water. I'm just going to see if we can't get just a little bit closer to the water's edge. Because I'd love to know if there is actually a crocodile in here causing this mayhem. But I do wonder if there's some salt or something here that some impala are here for. The rest of the herd are on the opposite side of the bank. Hi Mariana, welcome on board this morning, and Mariana wanted to know what tree that the parrots were in. I'm just going to have a quick check for you. looks like it's a monkey thorn. Yeah, another type of acacia, the monkey thorn. I'm just trying to remember its proper name. It's one that I've not seen for about 3 years. I think it's a black monkey thorn, if I remember rightly. But I'll double check the pods for you. And you can hear that high-pitched whistling from the thick knees. I'll see if I can find some thick knees for you. I think they're on the other side of the bank. But these balls are settling down again. Yeah, the acacia berkey. Thank you, Andrew. The acacia berkey being the black monkey thorn. And just to the right of where the bulls are standing, I can see there is the blacksmith lapwing just on the water's edge. We're able to follow the just to the right. I don't like they were settling down. I'm sure they will. I think they're just getting very irritated by flies. Oh, hello. Fish eagle's just taken off and I think scared some of the impala the other side. Not known fish eagles to take baby impala, but obviously it pays to never take chances, and I think that's what made them start to run off. But it just goes to show how alert these boys are. I mean, they were all sleeping on the bank, and the next thing that we're all charging, and that is very typical of the buffalo. They are herd animals. If one goes, they all go, and the last question's later. Because if you stick around to see the reason for running, that could be the difference between life and death for you. Hi Joe, welcome on board to you, all the way from Canada. Ah, there we go. Once it's down, they all should start following. Joe would like to know if we put any salt blocks out on the reserve, and I'm wondering if that's what happened here, or unless it's just a natural salt point. We do get them. But some reserves do put salt licks out just to help supplement, because some of the reserves aren't as large. I'll be surprised if they do put salt licks out. I don't remember them putting salt licks out. So I think this is a natural area where the salt does occur. Or at least minerals occur. But I don't see any areas where they've been licking, because usually it would be quite bare. So maybe just very sweet grass there. But some of the smaller reserves don't have the large boundaries, and they don't incorporate these nutrient-rich areas. So they have to supplement to make sure the animals do get the minerals that they need. The rattling of the red-billed oxpeckers. There's one or two sitting on the back of the buffalo, or they were. I think they flitting between the impala and the buffalo. Are we able to maybe catch up with the blacksmith lapwing? It's just walked probably about my 1 o'clock along the bank now, and that's where I think the thick knees were. I keep hearing the high-pitched whistling. There he goes. See if we can see any of the thick knees, because that's where they flew to, where the blacksmith lapwing actually is now. It looks like they did move off. Maybe they moved further back. Oh, there's a birch starling walking right up to us, just here on the right. Oh. Oh, beautiful. Just bobbing around there. So this one is the birch starling, and that was the same as we had just in the tree earlier when the sun was shining on it. You can see how the feathers do change with the light. The tail fairly long. We do have the Cape glossy starling, so they're slightly lighter in colour. They tend to have the greens and lighter blues shining back, whereas the birch tends to have the mauve and the indigo. But the big difference between the birchals and the Cape glossy is the eye. The Cape glossy has a bright yellow eye, whereas the birchals has the black eye. There you go, they're all sitting down now. And the oxpeckers are back. Now that they've settled, the oxpeckers are back to take off any ticks and parasites. Oh, shame, he's actually... Sorry, I thought you were on that group again. There was one or two just around the eyes of the buffalo. It really can't be comfortable having them sit around the face all the time. Yeah, and there's one just on the back there, checking for any parasites around the anus. The impala to my left are still very alert, but there's nothing, they're not seeing anything as yet. Oh, sorry, who was that last question from again? Kim! Oh, and there's the hippo. So hey, what about me? You've seen everybody else except me. Kim from Chicago, welcome on board, Kim. And Kim was noticing that one of the buffaloes split off from the rest of the herd. Is that normal? And yes, it is, Kim. But I found it highly amusing because he was obviously where the buffalo have gone to now, and he slowly made his way around here, and it looked like he was going to go and join them, and then they got spooked and ran across to the other side. But it looks like he's now decided, you know what, I'm going to stay this side anyway. I don't think it would have been the hippo. We would have seen the hippo in those shallows. At least he's back. Oh, here he comes. Maybe. I wonder if we're going to see any interaction with the hippo and the buffalo this side. But you can see his back is actually starting to come out of the water, so that's why I don't think it was him that caused the commotion. Where are you off to, Mr. Hippo? But certainly opening his mouth, making the noise, that was displaying, saying, you know what, this is my territory. So he might just be coming to back it up. Or he might just be finding somewhere nice just to lie and sleep. Let's see what he's going to do. And that's the buffalo who came back round. Oh. One buffalo opposite him has just stood up. Maybe the tension is just too much. Hippos will also give off sound underneath the water. So what we heard above is nothing compared to what they actually produce underwater. They make a lot of different clicks and low whistles and mumbles. And it's fairly recently they've actually discovered this, and the hippos actually have bristles underneath their chin that helps to detect the movements of the water, so they can literally hear each other under the water. And they use the bristles under their chin just to detect that. You can see they've got relatively small ears, but they don't really need to use them because they've got those hairs under the chin. And they don't really communicate on land as far as we know, apart from leaving the dung behind. And hippos do something quite interesting with their dung. They actually spread it. They'll kick their tail backwards and forwards and spread the dung. And they'll do it whether they're in the water or on land. But no one's really sure why they do spread it around on land. But I actually think it's just a natural reflex. As soon as they go to the toilet, their tail flicking is automatic. But they're highly territorial when it comes to the water, but they're not thought to be territorial once they go out on land. And today would actually be a perfect day for hippos to go out grazing. But they don't tend to go out during the day during the summer, although with it being overcast, you may see hippos out in the summer. I've even seen hippos sunbathing, so if people tell you that hippos won't go out under any circumstances during the summer, they're wrong, they're lying. I've seen them snoozing on the side of the bank, getting a few sun rays, but they can't go too far away because their skin is very sensitive and they do need that protection of the water. And that's why they do spend time in the water during the heat of the day. And they also secrete a liquid, and it sometimes looks like they're bleeding because it's quite a pink liquid, and apparently it turns pink once it's secreted, once it comes into contact with oxygen. And that also helps to act like an antifungus cream as well, and it actually stops the fungus from growing on the skin, and antibacterial as well. So it does have a few other properties, but that acts like a sun cream, so it gets secreted over the body. So especially when it's very hot, you might see hippos with this pink substance. But you don't need to worry, it is natural and it is needed. Well, these bulls are settling now. The hippo looks fairly content. He told the buffalo that this was his patch. And the buffalo would have gone out and eaten grass as well overnight, same as the hippo. Even though the hippo have huge teeth, they do eat grass. And they actually use their hard lips to chop the grass. But the hippo doesn't ruminate. The hippo isn't capable of chewing the cud like the buffalo are doing. That's what you're seeing them doing now. So the hippo dung actually looks closer to that of the elephant and the rhino. It's very coarse. There you go. You can see those red-billed oxpeckers running around all over the body. And the buffalo have kind of accepted the fact that they have these little birds, and they do help to keep them clean. Do help to keep them tick-free. As I say, I can't imagine having these birds jumping all over my head and over my nose, and it can't be nice. And you do see them getting slightly irritated. And you see the impala as well, so they'll jump from the impala. These birds jumping all over my head and over my nose, and it can't be nice. And you do see them getting slightly irritated. And you see the impala as well, so they'll jump from the impala to the buffalo. But you don't tend to see the oxpeckers actually on the backs of carnivores, because the carnivores would try and hunt them. The smallest animal you tend to see the oxpeckers on is a warthog. I have seen them occasionally on warthogs. I've never seen them on duiker or steenbok, and I think it's because they're too skittish, and I think they tend to, you know, dive away too quickly, and that probably does put the oxpeckers off. Oh, I can hear the Burchell's cuckoo. But the oxpeckers will spend most of their life on the animals. They'll tend to go back to the trees to roost at night. Unless there's no trees available, then they'll sleep on the animals. They'll also nest in the trees. And again, they are also another community cooperative breeder. So the parents will have the offspring to help them rear the chicks. Oh, and there's our woodlands kingfisher back again. Oh, it's being a bit quiet. The birds you've been hearing chattering away are the buffalo weavers. Actually, there is a buffalo weaver. It's close to its nest now. We're able to have a look in. The red-billed buffalo weaver is just sitting outside of his nest. I keep seeing them bring bits and pieces back every so often. Yeah, there we go, there's one coming in now. Hi Donna, welcome on board to you. And has the secretion of the hippo's skin to help them protect them from the sun, has it ever been researched for antifungal or antibiotic properties for human use? And I don't think it has, not to my knowledge. Forever constructing, making sure that nest is nice and secure. Oh, should we take another wander up towards the quarantine? area and just see if there's been any animal movement in the last half an hour or so. Everything seems to be fairly peaceful here. Thank you very much for that flyby, little buffalo weaver. Very chatty little birds. I couldn't honestly tell you where on earth the entrance to that nest is. Coolest way to sit so that most of the body is in the water, but also it means that they can look at what's approaching, because obviously they do have the protection of the water behind them, so they can actually check what's on the bank approaching them. So I think there's two reasons for it. But it could well be to stop the oxpeckers, but as I say, the oxpeckers will jump all over the body as well. There's two reasons for it. But it could well be to stop the oxpeckers, but as I say, the oxpeckers will jump all over the body as well, so I don't think they really have that in mind. I think it's just the comfort of the cooling water, and the safety aspect. I think I was halfway through answering your question about that solitary buffalo as well. As I say, these boys, it's not really a herd as such, even though they've all started sitting together. It really depends on the day as what they're doing. So it might be one day two of these buffalo decide, you know what, I've had enough of your company, I'm leaving. And they might just up and go to a new waterhole and be by themselves for a little while. So it's not a strict herd like the females have. The females tend to stay with the same buffalo because they're related. The females, the daughters, the aunties, and the same with the elephants as well. Anybody sitting here? Very quiet. Okay, well, we'll do another lap of the quarantine, just see if there is anybody out and about. And we'll sort out the other mouse so we'll be able to go further afield on this afternoon's game drive. Mouse birds. Oh, we might just be able to see them nicely. Just see if we can get around the corner. And then we should have the sky to silhouette them at least. Just on the bush in front of us there. Just on the top of it, yeah. And just to the right, there it goes. And there's one still there. Yeah. Might still be a little bit far away. What I have noticed, they don't tend to like the vehicle, they tend to fly off just as I approach. Yep, red-faced mouse birds sitting in the bush. There he goes. Lovely grey colour and long tail, which is where they get the name from. no activity, they're going that way. Quite a few swallows flying overhead. Maybe the barned swallow may have already left, so that's the one that heads back to the door. Hi, Donna. Welcome on board. Donna would like to know if the weavers, the buffalo weaver nests, are communal or if they're just a pair. I'm actually not, I don't quite remember. I'll have to look that one up for you, Donna. I want to say it is the pair, but I think I need to just check up on that. I say it's not a bird I have down by my way, and there's been little bits of information that I haven't used for a long time. We do have the sociable weavers, and you tend to get quite a number, well, we don't have them, but they are here in South Africa. But they tend to have a lot of different openings, but it's difficult to see in those nests. But because there's a lot of nests, that's why I'm more tempted to say I think it is just the pair. Because there are so many nests. But I will see if I can double check that. Or if someone could just quickly look it up for me. More. Oh, they are communal nests. Thank you very much. So they are communal nests. So it is very difficult to see the opening. And obviously those nests are pretty big. So there you go, Donna. They are communal nests. Just keeping a lookout for any movement. I'd love to find a little kitty cat for you guys. Out and about around quarantine. Here. Ooh. Can you see the locust sitting on the bush? I'm a bit close again. Yeah. Cool. Elegant locust. Absolutely stunning. The colours on this. Ah! I'm just saying he had this in his room. They really are beautiful. Check all those colours on them. But again, look, there's reds and yellows and blacks. And again, it's just warning anything that potentially might want to eat it. Hey, I'm toxic. Keep away from me. It looks like it's sitting on a young apple leaf. And the apple leaf, I'm not going to take a leaf now, but if I can find another apple leaf, I'll see if I can take one of the leaves and crunch it for you, because it actually sounds like someone biting an apple. That's where it gets its name from. Absolutely beautiful. Now some of the locusts are green all over the body, but they'll have bright colours actually on the wings. And as they fly, you'll see those colours, and it's reds and blues and purples. Oh, it's absolutely stunning. But as soon as those wings close, those colours disappear. So the predator can no longer see the animal. Because again, if it's green, it blends in with the environment. So the predator focuses on those colours, follows it, and then all of a sudden they disappear. And they just don't know where the animal's gone. But as I say, this locust doesn't need to worry about that, because it is toxic, and it's letting everybody know that that's the case. So it doesn't need to worry about getting away too quickly. It has its chemicals to back it up. And aposematic coloration, that's what this is. Aposematic just means away sign. That's what it translates as. Let's see if I can identify some of these swifts and swallows. Probably one of the bird's worst nightmares are the swifts and swallows, because you can't keep up with them. But I might be able to help some of you if you're not sure how to tell the difference between a swift and a swallow. I'll show you. As soon as I mention them, then they disappear. But the swallows have a lot of blue or red on their body. Especially the swallows here in South Africa. So they have this metallic blue, whereas the swifts tends to be quite a dull grey or black or brown, but there's no metallic colours on them. Also the wing shape is slightly different with the swifts and the swallows. The swifts, it's more of a sickle shape, it's quite a delicate arc, whereas the swallows, it kind of makes a right angle. I should really have been prepared, shouldn't I? And the swifts have a very long tail streamer, whereas the swallows can have fairly long, but they tend to be a lot shorter, and you see almost like a blunt V rather than a long drawn out V. So 292, if I could quickly show you this. And swallows will perch, whereas swifts are incapable of perching. But yeah, their wing shape, it almost comes up and then kind of does an angle and then comes down again, so it's kind of straight, 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 whereas the swifts, it's nice and fluid and a very, very pretty arc. But it sounds like we're coming towards the end of our drive. I'll just quickly show you the swifts. 249. Come on, there we go. So there's the fluid arc I was telling you about. I say most of them have these long tail streamers as well. Only one or two that have blunt tails. As I say, they are the general rules, the tails. You can't always go off of that, but unfortunately we have come to the end of our drive. Thank you very much for joining us, and as I say, we'll try and sort out the mast so we can go further afield again this afternoon on WildEarth. Bye for now.